Hey, how's it going? This is Tex, and you're looking at Tex Talks. I hope you're having a great day. Today's video is going to be specifically about something that was asked of me this week. They actually asked me to make a video too about it. It's more along the lines of parenting skills. And well, just watch the video and you'll figure out where we're going here. One of the skills of parenting is being able to think outside of your own way of thinking. Now, I've mentioned in one of my other videos different ways of thinking through your mind and what's going on. In other words, this paranoid ideation stuff. Thinking about what other people think and, feeling that they're saying things about you or doing things about you. Part of this whole understanding is being able to grasp concepts of how you think other people are thinking and giving variance and differences to the way you see it. Why is this important? A lot of times you have a kid who doesn't think the way you think, and then you get upset and you keep trying to discipline your child or get them to do something, and they're not doing it, and then you get aggravated going, well, why don't they just do it? And then I hear these comments like, well, I just did it, and why can't they be like me? And when I was a kid, and I'm like, please drop all that BS. One thing, your kid is not you, and you're not your kid. If you ain't figured that out, there's a problem. Next problem, why do you want your kid to be you? I'll get into more details on that in a second. The part of the experience that I had is the fact that individuals were sitting here going, okay, I don't understand why they don't just do what they're told. When I was their age or when I did this and my parents told me to do this, I did this, and I don't understand. And I'm like, well, let's start looking at the differences between you and your child. What are the personality differences? A lot of parents that I talk to have a level of anxiety. Anxiety leads to wanting to please people. Anxiety leads to not making waves. Anxiety leads to doing what you're told to do in order to keep the peace. And if you reflect, some people with certain levels of anxiety will go out of their way to be extra nice at work, to not cause any waves, to do their job so that other people don't complain. If you have a kid that has an anger issue, they probably don't have so much of an anxiety issue. It's possible they could have both. But in the particular group of people that I've dealt with in recent years, a lot of them, the child has a different kind of mental health issue than the parent. And a lot of times that's more to do with anger. And also it could be the anger and the angst of being a teenager, and there's a lot of other stuff, the rebellion that goes in it. But the fact of the matter is there's a level of anger and not anxiety. And what happens is if you really reflect on yourself, you may be doing things out of anxiety. What does that mean? That you comply in order to keep the peace. And your child really could give two cruds about the peace. They don't care if you're upset. Why would they care? And then the parents will go, well, I don't understand it. Why don't they respect me? Why don't they, if they loved me, they'd do this. Okay, don't confuse compliance with love. And also don't confuse compliance with respect. If someone respects you, they respect you because who you are and the way that they see things. They may or may not comply. Sometimes respecting people may lend more to compliance, but not always. And a lot of times this attitude that a kid will have, well, when you say, why don't they respect me? Well, here comes the crux of it. Why do you feel they should respect you? Well, because I'm their parent. And I'm like, really? That's your reasoning? That there's some invisible rule that somebody made up that as a kid, they're automatically going to respect their parents. If that worked, then you wouldn't have an issue. A lot of times, respect has to be earned. And of course, then I hear the argument, well, I pay the bills, or I cook the dinner, and I clean up after them, and I take care of them, and I do this for them. And I'm like, and they're supposed to respect you. No, that's not getting respect. That's you basically being used. You have worked yourself into a job. You've made your child dependent on you by doing everything for them, making excuses of why you need to, wake them up 5 times in the morning, and you need to scream and holler till they do this and that. You've basically worked the situation to where they depend on you to be their alarm clock, their chauffeur, their guidance counselor, their everything. And then you get mad because they're not independent. Well, you were the one who made them not independent. Congratulations, Dr. Frankenstein. You're angry at the villagers for wanting to burn down your castle when you're the one who created the monster that went down there and started all the trouble to begin with. Back yourself up. Take responsibility for your actions, but don't beat yourself for it. Realize whatever you've done, that's over. This is where we start new. And then look at yourself. And here's another answer I got. What are the consequences for them not doing these things they're supposed to do? Well, there aren't any real consequences. Now, that was as honest as it gets. The person didn't wait for me to chew it through and figure out there was no consequences, because a lot of people BS me. Oh, well, they're going to get in trouble. What's trouble? Well, I'll tell them that they're in trouble. Okay. And then what does that mean? Well, it means I said they're in trouble. Okay. It's like the old joke about the English bobbies, the police officers. Stop, or I'll say halt. Really? Okay. As a parent, you need to have real consequences for the things they do. And when they don't follow the rules, you follow through with the consequences. Going to get to that. Now, in the situation of this person, since there was no consequences, I'm like, well, this shows that your child at least has enough intelligence to rate them above a clam or an oyster. They're like, what? And I said, anyone with intelligence above a clam or an oyster is going to look at you and go, wait a minute, there's no consequences for doing what I want to do. It's what I want to do. Why wouldn't I do it? And their answer is, they should do it because, they should, want to do what they're told. No, nobody ever really wants to do what they're told. People do what they're told for reasons. Now, for you, the consequences, if you have a lot of anxiety, the consequences was people would be upset, and you didn't want that. And if your child doesn't have that anxiety level, then the consequences have to be, I'm going to take something from you or stop you from getting something you want. And then there's pain involved for you, not physical pain. It might be emotional if you consider attachment to your phone an emotional issue, but you're going to block these things out. Then there's a reason for compliance. Now, one of the solutions I had for somebody who doesn't get up in the morning, and I tied this directly, and this is old military training. I tied the consequences to the deficient behavior, which was they weren't getting up in the morning, and they were being late, and they were missing the bus. So this rule you're going to like. Kids, you're going to hate. Parents, it's a little tough on you, but I guarantee you, after 2 to 4 weeks of enforcing this, your child will start getting up like they're supposed to. There won't be an issue. Unless there's a medical one, then you get them checked out by the doctor. If your child gets up in the morning late, they don't comply, they don't get up when the alarm goes off and get dressed, they are late for their bus, you determine what constitutes them not doing what they're supposed to do. And then, fine, tonight, your bedtime, and you should already have a mandatory bedtime, and let's say it's 10 o'clock, Then tonight, your mandatory bedtime is 9:45, and all electronics will go off not at 9, but at 8:45. And if the next day they do the behavior again, that's 15 more minutes. So now your bedtime, your electronics off at 8:30, your bedtime is you got to be asleep by 9:30. Because obviously you're not getting enough sleep. And they'll whine and complain, and I need my phone, and I don't give a crap. Buy an alarm clock. Take it away. They do not need the phone. Just because you need the phone and you're addicted and staying at night watching your phone and your TV and all that, don't encourage your kids to be as bad as you. In fact, you might want to consider giving it up yourself, but that's a whole nother issue. And you keep backing it off 15 minutes. Now, when a kid finally complies and gets up like they're supposed to, you don't wash the record to 0. You literally go, okay, fine. Now you get 15 minutes added back on. You still have so many days left of good behavior to bring you back to that original 10 o'clock bedtime. So if you've been 4 times late, you need 4 times up. And it doesn't stop on the weekend. Oh, yeah, buddy Rowe. If your wake up time is at 5:30 or 6, Monday through Friday, and you weren't able to function and do what you need to do, then that bedtime and wake up time stays through the weekend. Don't want to hear the whining. Just shut it up now. If you can't function and do what you're supposed to do through the week, when the weekend comes, guess what? We just keep right on rolling. There's no reason for you to be allowed to sleep late on Saturday and Sunday if you cannot comply Monday through Friday. Obviously, the sleeping late on Saturday and Sunday might be contributing to the problem, because if you sleep late on Saturday, you stay up late Saturday night, then you sleep late on Sunday, then you don't want to go to bed on Sunday night, and Monday is hell. And that's your fault. And use the parent, that's your fault. You need to quit letting your kids do that. And so if they cannot comply Monday through Friday, guess what? They lose that weekend sleep time. That's just the rule. Now, you have to enforce the rules. And if you are someone riddled with anxiety and you're scared if you enforce the rules, your kids won't love you, I got news for you. If your kids don't love you when you enforce rules, they don't love you. It has nothing to do with rules. Again, get over it. If you want your kids to love you, then you need to treat them in a way that is consistent, patterned, fair, and honest. And you need to expect from them the things that they need to do to become adults one day, because the whole point is getting them to adults. And if you don't understand that one, watch my one about kicking them out of the nest. The fact is, though, you're teaching them to be good humans. So I guarantee you, if you use my sliding scale sleep deprivation, it will work, because they will get more sleep time. And you'll go, obviously, you can't get up in the mornings. You need to go to bed earlier. And you need to go to bed earlier. And you just keep doing it. At some point, they will, especially when you take away that weekend, because that's what they're banking on, is sleeping late, taking, and the other thing is no naps. You don't get to come home and take a nap. And especially on Saturday, you don't play that stupid game. Well, I got up, now I'm going to watch TV. No, you get up and you do chores. You get up and you do things around the house like cleaning, sweeping, mopping, taking care. Now, you as a parent, you're going to have to supervise. You are the supervisor. You're not doing your job if you're not supervising your children. You supervise them and you make sure they get up and do what they're supposed to do. And yes, it's going to be brutal, because then you have to get up. Okay, fine. Again, please don't whine. You created the problem, parents. You now have to fix the problem. But if you stay on track for several weeks, the problem will start to go away and things will get better. Your kids are not going to want to get up at 5:30 or 6 or whatever on Saturday and Sunday. They're just not. You don't. But what you're doing is you're saying, well, since I don't want to do it, I'm going to let them do it too. No. You're not only teaching them bad habits, you're encouraging them, and you're giving them permission to have bad habits. And you can't complain that they're not complying and doing what they need through the week when you encourage the bad behavior. And if you're asking yourself, why do I encourage the bad behavior? And you try to make excuses, that tells you why you're doing it right there. You're making excuses to do the bad behavior. You're making excuses because you don't want them to be mad at you. Well, I already got news for you. They're mad at you. And you don't want them to not love you. Well, if their loving you depends on whether or not you let them get away with bad behavior, that's a you thing, and you need to fix it. Because once they know they can hold you hostage, they will. Have rules, have consequences, have rewards. When your kid does what they're supposed to do all week and they get up on time and everything's lovely, then on the weekend, reward them. Take them to the park, play with them, go places with them, go to the zoo, do activities they want to do with them because they made your week easy. Reward them by making their weekend fun. Because it has to be consequences. You need carrots and sticks. You can't just run the world with just, no, you got to give them both. And things will get better. Okay. So getting back to that, why do you think your kid thinks like you do? They don't. So quit trying to see the world through your eyes and enforce that onto your kid. Stop for a second. Go, what motivates them? I know if I look at myself, what motivated me? And if you don't, you really need to look at yourself. And then once you do that, go back and go, all right, what motivates them? And let's shape their consequences and their rewards around their motivation, not yours. Quit trying to make your kid you. And here's the cream that goes across the top of that. I had to explain to one parent, so you want them to comply the way you do. You complain about your anxiety. You even complain about your people pleasing. And then you're telling me that you want your child to be a people pleasing, anxiety ridden individual who complies because they're scared. No. Wrong answer. Don't like it. Ain't going to work. If your kid already has that anxiety, they're already doing that. And then you need to work with them to help reduce the anxiety levels. On the flip side, if they're not doing it because they're angry or frustrated or they don't feel what you feel, then accept that. They're not going to be you, and you don't want them to be you. You want them to be who they are. You want them to be the kind of person they can be that will make their life better. Now, some of that means doing things they don't like now. Oh, well, your house, your home, your groceries, your electricity. They need to learn to deal with it. They don't like it. They need to grow up, get a good job, get their own home, get their electricity, and they can have little children that don't listen to them. Simple enough. Okay? So, recap. Think about why you complied. If you're complaining that your kids don't comply the way you used to, ask yourself, why did you do what you used to do? Really? And do you want your kids to be just like you? Maybe not. Then take a step back and go, all right, what is it they want, and make their rules, consequences, and rewards based upon those things. It doesn't have to be something you like. You don't even have to understand it. You just have to understand it's what they want and they like. And then stick to your guns. When you make this rule, like the sliding scale rule, don't wimp out and go, oh, I feel so sorry for them. They were good that one night. Here, let's give them back all their time. No. The rules are the rules. Obey them and work through them and quit breaking them because you feel bad. The rule's there for a reason. Okay? Hope you enjoyed the video. Think about it. Ask yourself why you do what you do. Look at your child separately. Don't try to judge their world through your eyes, and ask, why are they doing what they do? And then come up with an individual plan to help that kid get back on track. And not all kids are going to be the same. One kid's going to see it one way, another kid's going to see it another way. And don't do the, oh, well, your brother Bobby does this, why don't you do it? Just stop that. They don't do what their brother does or their sister does because they're different people. If you want them all to be the same, you should have worked out some way to have triplets or quadruplets. Okay? They're not the same. Don't count on them being the same. Okay? Hope y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you again next week. All right? Take care.